Hi there, Dipesh here from DronaHQ to show you how you can quickly build custom tools and apps on top of your database. In this tutorial, we are going to use Supabase and DronaHQ to design a tool on top of our Postgres data with a tabular interface and inline editing. So before we jump in, a quick intro to the tools that we'll be using. First is Supabase, which is an online tool used for building secure and high performance Postgres backends with minimal configuration. It also provides us ready-made APIs for authentication and CRUD operations. Second is DroneHQ, which is a low-code developer toolset to create production-ready apps for web and mobile using a drag and drop builder. So without further ado, let's begin. So I'm currently on the DroneHQ Studio home screen. So after we create an account and log in, we can see a similar kind of UI. Here I have created multiple apps. So for connecting to Supabase, we'll head over to the connector section where it presents us the list of all the databases and connectors that we have already connected. But for the integration, we are creating a new connector. So click on the plus connector button. It also provides us three options. So first is from import from AWS if you have an account configured and a connector created on AWS. Import from JSON. So if we have a connector on a different account, we can export it from that account and import here in form of JSON. Third is the connector. So for creating a new connector, we click on it and it presents us a list of databases that we can connect. So connecting to Supabase, I'll click on the Postgres SQL and it asks me the name of the connector. So I'll create like Supabase integration. Sorry, my bad. So it's totally up to you what name you want to give. Now it asks for a connection string. So we can either provide a connection string over here or we can directly provide the host port database name. Authentication type is use password, and you can also provide username and password if you have any. We also have option for AWS. It's hosted on AWS, but currently for the integration we are looking for the connection string. So to find the connection string on Supabase, we'll head over to its dashboard. Basically, you have already logged in and created your account on Supabase. So the first thing it asks you is to create a project. After you create a project, you get a dashboard like this. And we'll head to the project settings. And here we'll find database. And we'll find the host DB name, host port, username, and password. The password will be provided by you when you created the project. So you can remember the password. Or in case you have forgotten, you can also click on reset database password to create a new one. And for the connection string, I'll click on the URI and copy it. See how the password is written here. So we have to type the password manually. It's not present in the connection string. So platform automatically reads all the fields from the connection string, that is host, port, database name, authentication type is the password, Postgres, and the password. So I'll erase this password and I'll type. After I type the password, I click on test connection. So connection is successful, and now I can add queries to my connector. So I'll click on save to save the configuration. And here I can add the queries. For now, I won't add queries from here. We'll head over to Supabase, and I'd like to show you the tables that are already present in my Supabase. So there are multiple. I'll click on inventory. So it is a table with 50 rows and some columns. So what I'll do is trying to populate this data onto the platform. So I'll click on Studio and I go to the apps. It takes us a list of apps that I've already created. I'll create a new one by click on the plus icon. Now we have options to select a ready-made template. There are multiple ready-made templates already present, or we can import an application that is already created on a different account, or we can start with a blank app. Start with a blank app, and I'll give the name Supabase integration. Oh, sorry for the typo. For this, I can select an icon and click on Create App. So this is how a newly created blank app looks like, and I'll try to populate the data of that table inside a platform. So on the left, I have options to select the controls, which opens a tray, and we have a list of multiple controls. You can say multiple UI components that we can drag and drop and bind data to. So there are over 120 controls, and we can drag and drop them and resize them. So currently there is some static data binded to the table, and after I click on the table, I'll head over to the data section of the table where the data is binded. So I'll click on the quick select and add a connector query, which opens up a pop-up, and here I'm able to create a query. I'll select the category, and inside the category I'll search for Supabase integration. Here is the Supabase integration, and it provides us a field where we can type the query to get the results. So let's name it get inventory data, select all from. I'll use the quotes for safer side and in the column. Now I'll click on test, and as you can see, the data is populated. Okay, so I'll click on transform. So this is a raw API database response, and it shows the array of objects. The data is coming in form of array of objects, and we can transform it using JavaScript. Also, we can use DQL. We can either filter objects, or we can even filter particular keys that we want to see. For now, I'm taking all the fields, and let's click on test and save. Close it. So here we can see the name of the query surrounded by curly braces. So this is the syntax of writing dynamic variables on a platform. We can write them inside the double curly braces, and the data has been populated into the table. So here is a list of all the columns that are present in the table, and by dragging them, we can change the order also. So I moved the quantity to number 3, and I click on save. So quantity will move to the left. Also, we can change the data type of a certain column. So we have a column named price range, and its value is low, medium, and high. So using the format data section, we can we can set its data type. Okay, so multiple options for data types. I'll make it a single tag, and I'll type in the column name, which is price range. So I'm making price range a single tag. So okay, it didn't got selected. So our data in the price range has been converted to tags. So Now, if I want to provide some color into my tags, I can again go to the format data and click on format options and go to add options. So we can select the expected columns, like expected tags, and we can either do them manually or we can use data query. So as there are only three unique values, so I'll prefer to give it statically. Click on low, medium, and high. We can also change the color. It's green and save and close. I'll click on finish, and all the tags are now colored according to their groups. Now, if we want to enable inline editing into a table, how can we do that? I'll quickly guide through the process. So first of all, let's check out the properties, what all we require. So there is add button, update button, and delete button. So if I toggle them on, I will see the update button, delete button, and the add button in my table header. This is for updating a single row. But if we are looking to change multiple rows, we do them differently. So let's toggle them off for now and choose the column that will be editable. So for now, I'll only be editing the quantity, and for add new row, a button will be added, that is add row, and I can choose that the new rows which will be added, can they be editable too. So I can add particular column that will be editable, that is the quantity. And if we scroll down more, we can see table header background. We can change the look and feel of our table. So I'll make a quick change. Let's say I'll make it white. And similarly, we can change the color of table data, and we have multiple options. So for now, let's focus on inline editing. When we click on table, we have certain actions. So there will be a button on click to whom we'll click, and multiple rows will be updated. So go to the event section of the table, and we have multiple options. So these are all the events that can be performed in the table. So we can either select the row, we can click on the add button, click on update, click on delete, we can click on the refresh button, we can click on the save changes button. So when we update multiple rows, there is a save changes button. So I'll add the logic to update in this button. So here we can add the action flow, and on clicking the plus icon, I'll be introduced to on-screen actions and server-side actions. So these are two types of actions. So as the multiple rows will be updated, so I'll use iterate task over here. So if we talk about iterate task, multiple rows need to be updated, and they'll come in the form of an array, and we have to iterate over each and every row to update them in the database. So I'll use a keyword here, keyword from controls, that is table grid, and I'll click on properties, and inside properties I have edited rows. I'll delete the file. So it gives us all the rows which have been edited. So let's continue. And there is a when to execute section as well, inside which we can write a logic that particularly when this action needs to be performed. So I'll click on finish, as I'm not setting any. So I'll click on plus and add server-side actions. And I'll search for our Supabase integration query. So currently in our connector, there is no query. I have to add one. I click on add query. So I'll write a query for updating. let's say update quantity. Now I'll write the query, which is update update inventory and set quantity equals to so here I have introduced double curly braces, so I'm making this field dynamic. Write a where clause where id equals to, as the id will also come dynamically. So when I write these dynamic variables, these text box pops up, and here we can type in the test values to test the query. So let's say we have id 1 and the quantity is 12. So I want to change it to something like 40. I'll change the quantity to 40 and id will be 1, and I'll test out the query. So there is a 200 response, and now let's check in the Supabase if our quantity is changed. So as we can see, the quantity has been changed to 40 for id 1, and I'll save the query, and as it is working perfectly fine. Now we can set the environments. By default, the production environment is set up, but we can also configure staging and development environments. Let's click on continue, and it's asking for our edited quantity and id, the two dynamic variables we have created. So inside the iteration, to get the id of that particular iteration, we need to create some output variables. So let's close and click on screen action, and let's add a JS code. So I'll access the values of that particular iteration using a keyword named iterate task.value, and we can also access the index using iterate task.index. So iterate task.value gives us the object, or we can say the row of that particular iteration. So it will be edited row. It will be a single object. So let's output equals to edited rows, and a test. So it will return the same. The main aim here is to create the output variables. So I'll click on add variable. So we need two variables. First is the id, and the second is the quantity. So this is selected id, and this is the edited quantity. We can name the JS code as create variables. Let's click on finish, and below it, now we can introduce that query. So the query we created is now already present here. Now click on update quantity, click on continue. We'll click on use keywords, and we have a new field called action outputs. So created variable, in the edited quantity, I'll type the edited quantity, and inside the id, the selected id. So I'll click on continue. Our query has been added, and it presents us two conditions for success and failure. Let's add a quick toast to know that our IDs are updated. Perfect. Row with ID. So create variables dot selected ID has been updated. Now our update part is done. Now we want to reflect the changes in our table. So I have an action called run data queries. So while we are running a data query again, the changes are made in the Supabase, but how will they get reflected into the table we have here? So for that, we are running the get query again. So it will fetch the updated table and will show the results. So I'll click on continue. Now our action flow is complete and we are ready to test it out. I'll click on preview. So it will give me a UI uh, which will be as same as when we publish it. So here we are trying to update multiple rows. So I'll change 30 to 55 and sorry 55 and this is some 89 and there are 5 disks. So we are updating 3 rows. One is with ID 3, 4 and 6. So here I have a save changes button on which we have added the action flow. So click on save changes and the data for row ID 4, 3 and 6 has been updated. So inside Supabase as well, they have been updated 55, 89 and 5 or 6. I've sorted the table here, that's why it's showing the results in a sorted manner. And for our table, the updated rows has moved to the last. We can sort the table according to ID as well. So let's sort data, add a sort, like let's ID and let's apply, and we'll be able to see the data in a sorted manner. So this is how we can perform inline editing in our table. Also, we can add rows or delete rows using similar kind of action flow. So I've created an app in which I have done the same. But before that, let's publish. So I'll type in the release notes stating what I have done. Table grid added with the inventory data and inline editing has been enabled. So let's click on publish. So it's our version 1. Okay, so our app has been released and it has been published, and now if we make further changes in our table, we can again publish them and then we can share them. There is also a release history which contains all the versions of the app, and we can simply roll back to the desired version whenever we feel like. So I click on close. I click on the share button and we can publicly share this URL to access the same application. I'll enable the public access. Then we can open the app and we can open the same table and perform inline editing. Let's say I change to 180, ID 7, click on save. So my ID 7 has been updated to 180. Similarly, I can perform a sort for the ID and can see. I also have a app already created in which I have enabled inline editing and add row and delete functionality. So I go to events. So for delete, we have a similar kind of action flow where we can delete the employees. Also, we can create some branches where we can add rows. We can see the added rows, and this is the query for add rows, and similarly for the edit rows. And there you have it. Following this method, you can build custom apps on top of any data source. To give this a go, head over to www.dronahq.com and sign up for a free trial. Thank you for tuning in. See you next time.